Week 10 waiver wire. If you are still with the program, if you're still with us at this point in the season, congratulations, you're a true grinder. So I appreciate you watching. Click the like button, subscribe if you like this content. But let's get right into it. And as we always do every week, we're going to go position by position. So if you need a certain position, you can, kind of maneuver through the video as you need to. We're going to start with quarterback. And I think the answer this week at quarterback is J.J. McCarthy. Last week, we mentioned J.J. McCarthy. We cited the offensive environment and the playoff schedule coming up, which would be Cowboys, Giants, and Lions in the fantasy football playoffs. Very, very, very good matchup there. All of these are reasons why he's a good streaming option going forward. And this week against the Lions, McCarthy, he only threw for 143 yards, but he threw for 2 touchdowns and ran for another touchdown. And it's my belief that as McCarthy continues to progress in this system, I think his production is going to get better and better and more reliable and more reliable. And considering that he has a rushing floor that we all really like in fantasy, it's kind of amazing to me that he's only rostered in 29% of leagues. So I would prioritize him. But if, for example, you're desperate because Mariota, because Jaden Daniels is now going to be out probably for an extended period of time, I think Marcus Mariota, rostered in just 5% of leagues, is worth a look. I recently posted a YouTube short, go check it out, on this channel, which covers teams that have very juicy playoff schedules. One of those is the Commanders, and I think the Commanders have the easiest fantasy playoff schedule. And if Daniels is going to be out through the fantasy playoffs, and we really don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I don't really see a reason why the Commanders would necessarily rush him back, then Mariota might be a nice desperation play at quarterback, depending on the matchup, depending on the situation. Let's go to running back. And I know the Titans have a bye week this week, but I think Tajay Spears he's rostered in just 45% of leagues. And if he's available, he's my top ad still at running back because we're on Titans RB watch. This week, it was back to Tony Pollard as the RB who received the majority of the playing time. Pollard played on 29 of 47 snaps, ran 12 of 27 routes, was targeted once, carried the ball 10 times. On the other hand, Spears played on 21 of 47 snaps, ran 13 of 27 routes, was targeted 3 times, carried the ball 7 times. However, the rumors are that Tony Pollard could be traded today by the NFL's trade deadline. If that happens, then Spears' rostership is going to shoot up because we know the Titans are going to be playing in negative game scripts. We know that they're going to have to throw the ball, and I get it. The Titans' offense has been horrible. Cam Ward has been really bad, but even a running back in that offense is going to get check downs. Tajay Spears, being a pass-catching running back, seems to be the perfect guy who's going to get a lot of that opportunity should the Titans wind up in that situation, should they trade away Tony Pollard. The problem is Tony Pollard does a lot of the same stuff that Tajay Spears does. So right now it's tough to play him, but if Tony Pollard's out of the way, he's going to be a flex play going forward of, definitely a bye week fill-in. Isaiah Davis is my number 2 RB that I'm adding. And I mentioned him last week. The Jets had their bye week last week, but I think he's worth adding and stashing in the event that Breece Hall is traded. And that's going to be a theme of these running backs. These are contingency plans just in case the primary running back is traded. Then all of a sudden, these running backs are going to be the next man up. And Davis certainly fits that category. And Davis is also going to see usage and produce even if Breece Hall remains on the team. He's not going to be a guy you want to start necessarily unless you're desperate. But I think it's worth noting that Davis did play on 33 of 72 snaps, ran 17 of 38 routes, was targeted 5 times, and carried the ball 7 times in the game before the bye week. So I think he definitely should be rostered. And again, with these running backs, I think 7 to 10% for Davis, 12 to 15% for Tajay Spears. And for the quarterbacks, sorry, I forgot to mention, anywhere from 3 to 5% on those quarterbacks is probably as far as I would go. Devin Neal and any of these running backs that we're about to talk about, 1 to 3%, maybe up to 5% of your budget is probably all I would spend. But Devin Neal, continues to get weekly usage in the Saints offense. This week against the Rams, he played on 16 of 41 snaps, ran 11 of 26 routes, was targeted once, carried the ball 3 times. Again, it's probably not going to happen, but in the event that Alvin Kamara is traded, then Devin Neal is going to be the next man up, conceivably, for the Saints. He's only a stash for now, and he's not going to be playable until Alvin Kamara either misses time or is traded. Blake Corum, 9% rostered, and the positive game script caused Blake Corum to see an increase in usage against the Saints this week. This week, he played on 22 of 80 snaps, ran 8 of 34 routes, was targeted 0 times, and carried the ball 13 times. It was encouraging that Corum was effective running the football, as he averaged 4.5 yards per carry to Kyron Williams' 4.6 yards per carry. And to me, I said it at the beginning of the season, I'll say it again, there isn't a more valuable handcuff RB to roster in fantasy football right now because of how the Rams and Sean McVay utilize their running backs. And I get it. They're not going to throw the ball to their running backs, but they're going to use the primary running back a lot. And the case in point is this game in a blowout against the Saints. Kyron Williams carried the ball 25 times. And I would argue that if Williams goes down with an injury, then it's going to be Blake Corum. He's going to fit right into that bell cow role. Let's talk about a couple more running backs that are just stashes, just in case something happens. And let's talk Dylan Sampson. He's a stash just in case Quinshon Judkins' shoulder injury causes him to miss week 10. And if Judkins misses time, and I'm not sure why they would rush him back, then Sampson is next in line to lead this backfield. Sampson's nothing more than a stash, but he won't be playable unless Judkins is healthy. But I think he's a decent stash to make right now. And I'm going to throw out this next name, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but Jarrett Patterson, he's rostered in exactly 0.0% of leagues, and there isn't much value here, but technically Patterson was more effective running the ball than Kamani Vidal. Patterson averaged 4.9 yards per carry this past week, and this is a situation to monitor, but Patterson is nothing more than a deep league stash for now. Vidal did clearly lead the way in terms of usage. Kamani Vidal played on 47 of 65 snaps, 24 of 39 routes run, 0 targets, 12 carries, to Patterson's 18 of 65 snaps, 4 of 39 routes run, 0 targets, 9 carries. Let's move to wide receiver, and let's talk about Torrey Horton, who's rostered in 5% of leagues. Horton led all Seahawks receivers in snaps against the Commanders, 37 of 51 snaps, 20 of 24 routes run, 4 targets, 4 catches, 48 yards, 2 touchdowns. This offense is turning out to be one of the real gems in the NFL. Sam Darnold is playing lights out, and it wouldn't surprise me if the veteran Cooper Kupp misses some more time sporadically down the stretch. And all of these signs to me indicate that Horton should be rostered in way more than 5% of leagues, and I'm fine putting a 7 to 10% fab bid on him because I do think he's going to have a role to play in this offense going forward. Next up is Alec Pierce. Alec Pierce is starting to become a more stable asset for fantasy gamers, but he does come with big time upside, also a very low floor, but he's becoming a little bit more stable in my opinion. This week, as the Colts were basically playing catch up from the start of the game against the Steelers, Pierce was targeted 13 times, caught 6 passes for 115 yards, and Pierce also played 71 of 78 snaps, ran 50 of 56 routes, and was targeted, as we mentioned, 13 times. Pierce at this point is a reliable, high upside flex play, definitely a bye week fill-in. The floor could fall out from underneath him on any given week, I suppose, if the Colts are in a positive game script. But and I also say that Daniel Jones is probably not going to throw the ball 50 times. But this offense is much better than we thought it was going to be, and it's hard to believe that Pierce is only rostered in just 26% of leagues, and I think a bid of 7 to 10% I think is more than fair if you need a wide receiver. Speaking of if you need a wide receiver, Parker Washington, rostered in 18% of leagues. Brian Thomas Jr. left the game with an ankle injury. We know that Travis Hunter is going to be out at least another 3 weeks. Parker Washington led the way in terms of snaps played and routes run amongst the Jaguars wide receivers this week. He played on 70 of 80 snaps, ran 36 of 40 possible routes, and was targeted 9 times. Washington also led all Jaguars pass catchers with 90 receiving yards. And if BTJ is going to miss time, it's going to be Parker Washington that's going to be the lead wide receiver for the Jaguars. And I think that's worth at least a 7 to 10% bid. If you're desperate, maybe go up to 15%. We're at the point of the season where you got to unload that fab money. You're not going to win an award for keeping that fab money. It's not going to roll over to next season. So I would be fairly aggressive here because it kind of looks like Parker Washington could be the guy for them down the stretch. Let's talk about Chimere DK, who's rostered in 21% of leagues. DK continues to see a lot of usage in the absence of Calvin Ridley. This week, DK led all Titans wide receivers in snaps and routes run. He played on 41 of 47 snaps, ran 25 of 27 routes, was targeted 2 times, only caught 1 pass for 5 yards. And I get it, Cam Ward has been awful, so DK is only a desperation play if you need it. I wouldn't spend any more than 1 to 3, maybe up to 5% of your fab on him. But DK should be rostered just in case, this Titans offense gets going, or if Calvin Ridley misses more time. And I don't know necessarily why they would rush him back. And this next one is a deep league stash only, and that would be Devon Bailey. He's rostered in exactly 0.0% of leagues. And the Saints might trade Rashid Shaheed. They might trade Chris Olave, or maybe they trade both. I know it's probably not likely that they trade Chris Olave, but if they do, Bailey is going to be the next man up for the New Orleans Saints. He only played on 12 of 41 snaps, ran 6 of 26 routes, wasn't targeted in the game, but Bailey is a solid player who is just a stash at this point and shouldn't be played unless a trade goes down. Let's talk about the tight end position. And this is Colston Loveland. He's rostered in 24% of leagues. Good on you. This was the breakout game. If you stashed him, if you rostered him, I dropped him a week too early in a few leagues, but so that's shame on me for that. But the good news is that he's available. He's widely available in over 75% of leagues. Cole Kmet left the game with an injury, and it's going to be important to monitor his status because he could certainly get in the way of Loveland's usage. He could be really annoying. But I think it's worth noting, and I know a lot of you already know this, that Loveland was the first player picked in the draft during the Ben Johnson era. He clearly wanted Colston Loveland. All the rhetoric in the media has been positive regarding Colston Loveland right from the start. And I think this should be a sign of things to come. And my guess is this is the last week that Colston Loveland is going to be rostered in 50% of leagues. And like we said, good on you if you stashed him. If you need a tight end, I would go up to 15 to 20% of your fab on Colston Loveland. That's how much I think Colston Loveland's going to be involved. And we know that this Bears defense is terrible. It's a horrible defense. And as a result, the Bears are going to have to do what they did against the Bengals and throw the ball like a ton. So let's move on to a couple more options at tight end. Dalton Schultz, rostered in 27% of leagues. CJ Stroud did leave this game after taking a pretty nasty hit, but Schultz looks like he's going to be on the field a lot no matter who the quarterback is. This week he played on 58 of 73 snaps, ran 36 of 47 possible routes, and was targeted 8 times, caught 6 passes for 77 yards. And you can do a lot worse than Dalton Schultz. I probably wouldn't spend more than 3 to 5% fab on him if you need a tight end. And Theo Johnson, rostered in 33% of leagues. Johnson continues to dominate the tight end usage for the New York Giants and also continues to be a playable tight end in fantasy. I played him in a league this week, and this week he played on 49 of 57 snaps, ran 28 of 39 possible routes, and was targeted 6 times. He turned those 6 targets into 3 catches, 27 yards, and a touchdown. And again, with Jackson Dart at quarterback and without their top option in the passing game, Malik Neighbors, this is going to put the Giants in a situation where they're going to have to target some of their ancillary weapons like Johnson, and the Giants defense, just like the Bears defense, is also really bad. And the likelihood of the Giants playing in a lot of negative game scripts going down the stretch is very high, which should be beneficial to the pass catchers. And if you are desperate at tight end, Tucker Kraft is now out for the year with a torn ACL. And just when you think things can't get any worse in terms of injuries, they do, because Tucker Kraft was having an amazing season. And I'm not sure how confident I feel in terms of playing Luke Musgrave on a week-to-week basis. I would like to see how the next couple weeks play out in terms of his production. But if you're in a deep league, I don't think it's a horrible idea to stash him. And I don't think you really need to pay much fab to get him. I think up to 3% fab, anywhere from 1 to 3%, probably gets him. And he led the way in snaps and routes run from the tight end spot when Kraft was out, when he left with the injury. So it might be Luke Musgrave that fills in. We just need to see it. I don't know for sure. So again, no more than 1 to 3% on Luke Musgrave, only if you're desperate, only in deep leagues. And that is going to do it for the video. If you liked it, click the like button, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, be good, everybody. And we will see you later.